Hello, and thank you for joining me on my journey to the top 100 trout streams in America. I'm Getty Sarno. Trout fishing has been a passion of mine for as long as I can remember. My plan is to start off in my home waters in Pennsylvania and Maryland, and then expand my trips out west. So come along for some fun fishing in fantastic waters. Hey folks, today I'm fishing on the Bitterroot River in Montana. The Bitterroot River is just south of Missoula, Montana. Today I'm just fishing a little bit north of Hamilton, Montana. This is going to be my very first float trip and the first time I've ever used a guide. It's the end of July and the Bitterroot is absolutely gorgeous. We started out in the morning and we're going to float all day long. We're going to start off at 8 o'clock in the morning, we hit the river. And it is a beautiful river. Our guide takes us up to the very first hole, and the fish are actually jumping in the riffle. If you look very carefully, you can see a couple of jumps right here. Normally I would have stayed right here and kept changing flies until I caught one of these fish, but we're on a float trip, so we need to move downstream. So I learned a ton on this float trip. The guide was absolutely awesome. He told us exactly what to do, where to cast, when different types of current were coming up, where to be. I learned a couple things about myself. One, I cannot cast to the right. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I tried all day and it was all pretty pitiful. The coolest thing in the world was that you really don't have to mend. I mean, I could put my fly out there and just float along with the current, and the drift was really pretty perfect. And the guide was just helping, with adjusting one way or another. It was great. The other thing that was really cool was I learned a lot about the different seams in the water, where to go. We were fishing along the bank. The other thing that I really didn't catch too much on film, I only filmed the beginning of this raft trip because again it was 8 hours long. But I learned that I was basically trying to hook the fish in a wrong way. I was using sidearm, which was very bad, and I missed an awful lot of fish this trip. This water is absolutely phenomenal. Again, I have no idea how you would cover any amount of water, basic wading, just floating through these great pockets with, deadfalls and all kinds of things. Now I'm fishing, it's a chubby Chernobyl, is what I started off with. I'm currently using a dropper. Again, I put a clinic on how many fish I missed on this trip, but it was great because it was a high visibility fly. If you put it over a fish, they would hit it, and this Bitterroot is absolutely loaded with trout. The guide was absolutely awesome. Such a nice guy. Basically he was definitely helping us understand, the seams, where fish were. He talked about like the nervous water, all kinds of things that I'm like, this makes so much sense to me. And I'm going to take these lessons and definitely bring them to a lot of my stream fishing because I think I've been missing some really great water. I also really loved that, I could fish very, very close to banks. There's on the Bitterroot, there's a lot of like root balls and ledges and things that I think would be extraordinarily difficult to fish via bank. But floating was great. One of the other things that I learned is I've always kind of romanticized about like being a guide or something like that. These guys really work hard. Being a guide here means that you're paddling a lot of times upstream with your clients all day long. So yes, you can probably eat what you want, and yes, your body's going to be very strong, but very, very difficult job. These guys earn every penny that they make. I thought the other thing that was really cool was that, he provided us with, water, and we had lunch. So, the trip was it was a great trip, just a rafting trip down the river, even without fishing. But fishing was just absolutely awesome. You'd float over these riffs, and fish would just come out of nowhere and grab it. So you had to stay on your game the whole time, which also was, it was a little tiring actually. Fishing all day, you'd think, you're floating down a river and it's easy work, but you really had very few breaks, and the guide especially had almost no breaks. I mean, he was constantly like, men left, men right, watch that seam, go to the bank, do this, do that. So, and we actually requested for him to take us on the Bitterroot today, so it wasn't kind of his normal water. So again, tremendous amount of work. I really respect these guys, and really great going out. Like I said, I didn't really get a ton of fish on camera. Really after the first couple of holes, I'd missed a couple fish, and I only have about 2 hours on the GoPro anyways, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take it off and I'll just deal with some cameras and stuff like that. But it was a great float trip. And to enjoy that with my father-in-law was just absolutely wonderful. We had a great trip, a great time everywhere we were in Montana. But this was a really great experience. If you're going to go there, spend a little money, take a float trip, get a guide, you'll really appreciate it. The places that we were on the river were great. The river itself was absolutely cool. Our guide was really amazing. He really helped us and helped me be put on a lot of fish, at least. And this is one of the fish that my father-in-law caught. Really beautiful trout. So that was the Bitterroot. Love Montana, loved the Bitterroot, and it was just a fantastic place to have my very first float trip and be out with my very first guide. Absolutely awesome. Recommend it. Go to Montana and fish.